Boom. Awesome, guys. Well, listen, it's great to see you guys again. So we are finishing off this breathing series for the month of October. Okay, so I showed you guys the breathing on just breathing through the body 2 weeks ago, and then last week we talked about continuity, or we did the wave breathing, and then third one we did continuity, right, and consistency of breathing. This last one is dictated a little bit more to emotions of breathing, and there's an old saying where we train technically, but then when we fight, it's an emotional component. We get angry, we get sad, we get, all these things come into play. And we need to be able to use our breathing as it relates specifically to emotional control. Okay. So for an athlete, maybe at a low level, it doesn't really bother them, but at a high level, there's a lot of emotions. There's a lot at stake. So fear of losing, disappointing, you name it, right? So whenever there's a lot of emotions, we need to be able to channel our breathing to the emotions, just like we do breathing to the muscles, right? When we're breathing to recover our muscles, we need to breathe to recover emotional states, right? So I'll show you kind of how I do it. I wouldn't say it's a high intensity class, but I would say that it's going to be one of the more practical ones that you're going to use, right? Because as long as I've been, whether it's teaching or training as a student in martial arts, there's always an emotional component to this, okay? And you need to be able to control your emotions. Otherwise, well, you're not training in the right space, right? Because there's got to be an emotional involvement for it to mean something to you. Otherwise, what does it mean? Like, why would somebody play a song or do anything great if there's not an emotional component to it, right? There has to be something, whatever it is, right? So, you guys ready to get started? So, I'll break it down into categories, right? And you can ask me questions at any time, and I'll use Jackie as my demo because it's really important. Now, you guys don't have a partner, I get that, but tomorrow when you do, you can also apply some of this. Oh, hold on, somebody wants to come in. Oh, good thing I noticed. Awesome. Okay, so we'll start with the most basic one, which is what happens when you experience pain. Okay, so when we experience pain, how do we now channel our breathing towards that? Now, when I say pain, that doesn't mean a high level pain. I would say that majority of time we're faced with a low level pain that is just constant, right? Like something that's nagging, with a little headache, or we've injured an elbow or a wrist, and then it's just nagging. Like Alberto's got a good one right now, right, with his wrist, right? It's nothing that's stopping him, but it's a nagging injury. It's just there for a while. And the wrist, much like the shoulder, much like the back and the knee, will get 80% of the way there very quickly, but that last 20% takes a long time. It takes a long time to fix that. And you got to be patient with it and not hammer through it. Okay. So we need to start working with our breathing and channeling it towards pain. Now, I mean, from what I can gather, there's only, we got Karen, who's a mom, and then Jacqueline as well, who's a mom. And before, when you're talking about childbirth, before there was an epidural, there was Lamaze, and it was breathing specifically geared towards childbirth and dealing with that. We can use similar principles with pain, and there's really endless array of ways we can inflict pain on each other. Okay, there's no limit. But my favorite pain is the one that you didn't want when you didn't want it. So when you stub your toe in the morning, you're not ready for it, right? Or you cracked your head on something when you didn't expect it, right? And you're angry and nobody's around. You just want to smash something. Like, that's really when you need to find your breathing. So your life is going to give you all those little bumps, but for now we're going to inflict it. Okay. So grab your hand. Okay. We're going to start. Grab your own hand, right? And what I want you to do, like I'll use Jackie's as an example, right? Because she's so happy about this now. You can see her flexibility is already not that good.
I'm really concerned about today.
I've got a whole array of weapons in front of me here, and she's terrified right now. Okay, so give yourself a low level of pain. Okay, so an amount that you can handle, but that you can feel. Okay, with the fingers, and then just start to breathe. Okay, and you're breathing. Not here. This is where people make the mistake. They breathe right where the source of the pain. The pain here is the correct pain. What's not correct is in the wrist or in the elbow. Like, have you ever seen it? You bend somebody's finger. Let's say Jackie bends my finger, right? And you see this thing, like neck and shoulder. There's no pain in my shoulder. I relax my shoulder. I relax my elbow, and the pain is just here where it's supposed to be because something is hurting. So when you're inflicting this kind of like pain in your fingers, right? Try to look at where the pain doesn't belong first, where it doesn't belong. It does not belong anywhere else but in the fingers where it could break. Everywhere else, yeah. And just again, the breathing should be loud enough for you to hear it. So start at the first point. So if it's Jackie's shoulder that I can see now, she breathes to the shoulder, relaxes that. Then she follows it down, breathes it to the elbow, breathes it to the wrist, which is not in trouble, and it's mostly the fingers. And now you're left with pain where it really belongs. So we're not trying to pretend it's not there. That's not what I want you to do. I want you to push the pain where it belongs. Guys, we have pain in life. It's not a problem. It's just don't let it infest other parts, right? Like and now you ever heard the people say a pain in the ass? Right? Somebody, it's a pain in the ass, right? Those people infest other people. It's very similar, right? So, but you know that, right? We see it. They infest other people. So the pain that's coming from here starts to infest your body. Please don't let it. So start with the fingers, right? Start with your fingers. And then maybe start with the wrist. Like start to like you can do it even using the floor, but I'm going to do it for Jackie now. So there's some pain that is coming here, but it's also infesting other parts of her body. So Jackie, with her breathing, needs to let that go. Yeah. And what you find is you allow pain to exist, but you're in control of it. That's important. That's an important distinction. It's like because you're in control of it, you can manage it. It's not managing you, right? Now, if you have a hard time doing it like this, you can do it like with a, like on the floor or on a wall, like, use it like anything that will bring a joint to a place where it just doesn't feel comfortable, whether it's like this, whether it's like this, right? Whatever it is, right? So just try it now with your wrist a little bit, whether you use the floor or whether you use a wall. Yeah, that's it. That's it. And I can actually feel it's interesting as I'm doing this, my my elbows is touching Jack's elbow, and I can actually feel the arm relaxing. But here is the same. So she's really focusing on localizing that the pain here. Okay. Another good way of doing it is this way. That's a different type of pain where you actually spread the fingers like you're making a wish, like this, like this, like that. Spread them apart. Yeah. And you see that's a different type of pain. So any way you can twist the fingers or wrist will elicit a different type of pain. Try it standing up now. So what I want you to do is try it with your ankles, right? So stand up and just with your feet, like roll on your toes so that you feel a stretch, not stretch, but more pain on the top of your foot, right? Yeah. So it's like you're like that, right? Yeah, and that really hurts, especially if I try to stand on it. If I try to stand on my toes that are curled, and my toes are curled like that, I'm standing on like the knuckles of my foot, and that kind of, yeah, that doesn't feel good trying to stand on that, and that definitely causes pain in front of the ankle, and I'm breathing through that. So I'm breathing to relax my hip, I'm breathing to relax my knee, and then I'm focusing the breathing down towards the ankle. So there's just pain localized in the ankle. Great, guys. Okay, you got the idea. Now, there's two thought processes you can have with pain. Okay, so either you're breathing. So if I'm giving Jackie some pain here, either your breathing supports supports the hand, or it removes uncomfort. So if you start to make your wrist like this, right? Try to use your breathing to pull pain away and out, like throw it away. And then try use breathing like you're supporting that thing. So my arm is here twisted up, and I'm breathing into my arm to give it strength, to give it some support, to pump it up so that it doesn't feel so vulnerable. And those are really the two ways of breathing. So either you breathe to remove something that's uncomfortable from you, whether you're doing push-ups or you're dealing with pain, or your breathing supports you and gives you strength to continue struggling a good way. Yep. Does everybody feel that, guys? Ask me if you can't feel that. You should feel that you can remove it, right? So remember, we're showing you this so that you see it. So tomorrow, if you hurt yourself or you're in training or you see somebody get injured, right? This is the other thing. You see somebody get hurt right away. You see they're holding their elbow, right? You see that they damaged their elbow and Jackie's holding her up. Right away, don't go to the elbow. So look at the shoulder. Say, relax your shoulder, relax your head. You know, work on relax your hand and try to localize the pain where it belongs. Don't try to make the person pretend it's not there, but you're trying to calm everything else around it just so that you're left with the pain where it belongs. Okay, that it doesn't infect. So you're going to find places for this when you train yourself. Even when you injure yourself, do the same protocol. Wherever you get hurt, try to relax all around it, leave it here where it belongs, and then deal with it here. Does that make sense, guys? You got that, right? Makes sense, right? Okay. Take your thumb now. Take your thumb. Put it towards your neck, especially into the big muscle, like here. Yeah. And Jack will feel that for sure. She's up on her toes right now. Like, so you're pushing into your neck, right into the big muscle, and push till, yeah, I can feel the nerve in my ear right now working, right? So there's some pain, right? There's some pain as I'm pushing into my neck. Start to breathe. Again, all around it, your face, chest, back, and then try to see how small you can localize the pain, just so that it's in one little spot. Okay. I don't know if any of you ever been to the dentist and had them working on your teeth, and in 1 second you realize your toes are curled up or that your shoulders are up. Like the pain is in your tooth, but it hit the nerve traveling your whole body. Neck is the same. It kind of tends to light up the nervous system, right? So really leave the pain there. Yeah. Patrick, wiggle your head. And try to localize that pain. Yeah. Anywhere there's like flesh, like a lot of muscle, just push right in there. Yeah, there it goes. You feel that? Really? Come around, guys. Let me explain to you some of this ideas behind this. Okay, I don't think you guys can see me. Hold on. Okay, so when you touch something like a finger into the muscle, it doesn't know that like your body doesn't know your systemic training, so it thinks you've been impaled. Like it so when there's a big pressure like here, it doesn't know that a nail didn't go through there. It doesn't realize that quite yet. The when something pokes where it doesn't belong, the body instantly closes around it. Like all the muscles close in around it so that's the kind of theory. So for you, what you need to do is breathe and relax all those muscles and tell them, I got this. It's not that bad, right? How many of you had a deep punch in systema? Think about it, right? The reaction of the body is like to cover, and is it a hole? Did I get shot? Is it the body doesn't know what's happened, right? So you have to talk to those muscles and say, no, I got this. I got this. It's okay. So as you're pushing in, let's say to the neck, and the body reacts, like all those muscles are thinking, oh my God, we got to close up this wound. It's reacting that way. Relax it. Relax your jaw, relax your collarbone area, relax your shoulders, and you realize that the pain is much more manageable. You can bring it down about 10%. Noah, you got that? You feel it? You got that? Okay, good. Great, great. Okay, guys, do you have a long stick? Does any of you have a long stick? Long or short stick? If you have something like that, if you can get it. Karen, do you have anything like that? No? I'll give you one next time if you have it. You get the mini stick. Okay. So this is one of my favorite ones. Because yeah, Karen, that'll work. That'll work. What is that? A guitar? Is it? Oh, that'll work. Oh yeah, that's good. That'll do it. So yeah, a short stick or a long stick will work either way. What I like about the long stick is that I stick it in the corner and I can shove it into my body, right? So I don't, so it's longer. But with the short stick, like this one that the Jackie has, you just do it like that. Okay, you're just pushing in. Now, the stomach is very specific. The stomach is the home of all our fear. So when we say we're scared, people usually get butterflies, right? That's the intrinsic thing, right? So what all you do now, take the point of the stick, put it in like the side of your stomach somehow, right? If you want to put it in the side, not necessarily the ribs, but in the side, and then push in. Okay, push into a spot where it feels uncomfortable. Okay, again, with your breathing, try to relax that part of your body, right? Try to relax. So for me, I'll do this with my stick, right? I can get it into frame. I might have to just use Jackie in this one. So as Jackie's pushing, right, the pain's coming to her body, and she's got to use her breathing to remove that. Yeah. So first thing, like chest area, hip area, other side, and we're just localizing where the pain is. Yeah, Miro, very good. Yeah, you can hang over it like that. Try to relax more onto the stick. So instead of removing pain, relax into it. Like tell the stick that it's fine. You'll be surprised. I mean, just stop when you get to your spine, but other than that, like you're good. Push into it. Eric, let your back roll out a little bit. Like really allow the like don't hold the low back. Just let the low back push out. Yeah, that's it. That's it. And then try different spots because every inch around your stomach is a different experience. Like there's different organs and different, the liver and on one side and things like that. Yeah, very good, Alberto. Nice. Now you're accomplishing a few things. One is, yes, you're dealing with pain, but you're also looking for where like stuff is going on in your stomach, right? Because sometimes one side is more than the other. If you have like a very sharp pain, please let me know. Right? This is you should if you have sharp pain, it's like an indicator of like some deeper intestinal or stomach problems, and we want to make sure we look at those, right? Like if the bowels are inflamed, like and they're very sensitive to this kind of stuff, it's they should feel uncomfortable, but it shouldn't be like an electric pain. It's just be uncomfortable. Yeah, one side might be more painful than the other, guys. You should note this and try and talk to Miro, if you can get under the ribs, try get under the ribs and up towards the lungs. Yeah, if you yeah, try hit an angle where it goes up into the body if you can. Yeah, that's it. No, up and then relax. Nice, Steve. Nice, Patrick. Nice.
Here sets off my whole body.
Oh, in the middle, in the solar
Yeah,
plexus.
you know, when I got the tension there, it nodded up and then it stayed.
Okay, guys, just an idea. Last one, put the stick on the ground now. Put the stick on the ground. Yeah, just lie it on the ground. And now start to step on it with your feet, okay? And again, you'll find a different type of pain on the bottom of your foot. It might just be uncomfortable. That's fine, but try to find like maybe the arch or by the heel, or if you position your feet sideways, you feel like it's a low level pain and stay there and try to breathe. And again, relax the knees, relax the calves, and then leave the pain in the foot. Don't take it away, but don't let it infest your legs, okay? For any of you guys that have ever stepped on a Lego, you understand what I mean. Like, it's insane what a little piece of plastic can do. The pain comes right up your body. It locks up almost the entire body from the bottom of the foot. Yeah, the bottom of the foot has the ability to lock up everything. Eric, you have a thing there? Is that like a TTC, like a little holder? That's awesome. I need one of those on my ceiling. Look at you, like a monkey. That's awesome. I'm so jealous. That's so good. Yeah, I'm gonna put out the Fight Club now, Eric. You've inspired me. I need to. I'm gonna hang around. That's awesome. Again, guys, there's low level pain, mid level, high level pain. It's fine. Just you can deal with. Yeah, Miro, that looks good. Yeah. Now I have I don't have it here. I have it at home. I have a pad that's very spiky. I don't know if Miro, is that spike pad you have there? Is that the one you have? Anybody have that? You have that prickly pad? Yeah, guys, look at this. Look at so guys, come close, come close. Look at what Miro has. Okay, I have one of those at home. Those are nails. Okay, those are now Miro can jump on that from 1 meter off the ground. No, I'm joking. I have one of those. The guys, you want to talk about those are awesome. Look, he's in a squat now. So you that's awesome. Right? That kind of stuff, like where because it is a little painful. Okay. So okay, so let me make you guys laugh because I got to tell you this story. Okay. Like I get invited to go to where was it? Where were we again? Seattle to teach a seminar. The guy picks me up from the airport, brings me to his house at 10 o'clock at night. I have no time. I go right to bed. I wake up in the morning. I go to his washroom. Little do I know, he has one of those mats that Miro has on his washroom where he brushes his teeth. The first step I took out of bed without anything was on that mat, and I didn't know, guys. I never been in so much pain first thing in the morning in my life. I felt like I was shot. I took a full step onto that stupid thing. Anyway, I'll never forget it as long as it lives. Super painful. Um, Good thing I knew my breathing. Okay, come close. Talk to me. You can unmute yourself if you need. Did you feel the idea of pain and breathing and focusing it? Okay. Now, I don't want you to practice this like you practice other stuff I showed you. Your practice is real life. So when you stub your toe, when you hit your head on something, when you hurt yourself accidentally, that's when you try. That's your practice. Don't like right now. I'm kind of showing you stuff, but you need to practice this organically. This has to when all this stuff happens, and you know what I mean. I cracked my head the other day because my kid left the cupboard open as I lifted my head. And I'm mad, but when you need to practice. Don't make it like part of a regular routine practice. When you're in class, right? And somebody accidentally elbows you and you're just infuriated with emotion, that's when you use your breathing. Okay. Like you have to find it in real life, not so much in specific training. Make sense? Okay. That's pain. Okay. Next one is fear. So it's another emotion when we get fearful. Okay. When we get scared, that is a different type of emotion. So pain is one and fear is another. There could be fear and pain, but nonetheless, we're going to work with fear, right? Why is Eric laughing so much? And we know why. Fear and pain. Okay, so I'll show you how I work with fear. Okay. Now, uh, everybody can hear me okay still, right? Because fear and pain work on one premise. It's risk. Okay, this is what happens. We judge our risks judged by the amount of fear and pain involved. Make sense? Fear and pain. That it's straight up. If every parking ticket in Toronto came with no fine, but simply one Sistema whip in the back, nobody will be parking, guys. I guarantee you, nobody will park illegally if there is a whip involved. Some people pay $200, but they don't want to get whipped. That's straight out. They don't want to get whipped. So pain is an interesting one. Fear is another one. Okay, fear is a silent because how many people didn't do something amazing because they were scared? So they missed opportunities. So this is what I love about fear. Fear, we have to get some control over it because it can hold you back from accomplishing some amazing things. Okay. And you just have to understand what kind of fear is good and what kind of fear is one you should maybe pay more attention to, right? So here's Jackie now. So we're going to give her some fear. Okay. Now, because I want you guys to practice with this at home and how to practice it. Okay. So there's a wall right there. There's a wall behind Jackie. Okay. So she's going to have her eyes open and she's just going to walk and count the steps. Oh, five or six steps. Okay. Come back. So now she's going to close her eyes and she's going to walk towards this wall and stop on the fourth step. So her eyes are closed right now and she knows it's 5 steps. So she's going to give her, so on 4 steps, she's going to walk to that wall with her eyes closed. And then on the fifth one, you can open them. Yeah. And then she's going to come back and she's going to do that same thing with a faster walk. Not a run, a fast walk. And I don't know if you caught that. It's hard to see, but there's a hesitation on the last few. She's starting to say to herself, maybe I made a miscalculation. I'm not sure, right? Like it's some worries. Now she's going to run 4 steps with her eyes closed to the wall. That third, she was not. She stopped at the third. Okay, so here's a very easy way to train with fear. Okay, where there's an obvious danger, a wall, but you've measured. You already know that it's 5 steps in this case to that wall, but still it has an effect on you, right? And you need to feel what that feels like. So what Jackie's doing is her body doesn't know she's walking to a wall. Body has its own, she knows something's not right. Something has scared her. Something has hit her radar. So tomorrow, when she goes to apply for that job, and all of a sudden this feeling comes, she understands, oh, that's fear. This is what's talking to me now, right? This is what's talking to me. This is why. So, oh, this is what it is, right? How many of you found the first time ego hit you? Said, oh, this is ego. Oh, this is what got damaged, right? We've all thought, oh, look at that, eh? And how many times I've caught it? Your ego got upset, right? Like, so this is fear. This is one way that I work with fear, right? Because fear is something as obvious as this, right? But how many of you cross the street where you're not supposed to? Come on, guys. We a lot of us do. Think about that, guys. look at it. But let's be honest, that's way more dangerous than this. But how do you approach it? Calmly, right? Calmly, right? So now I want you to try this. So look, find a wall. This can only be 3 steps. It doesn't matter, right? Turn around like Jackie did. Okay. Everybody stand up, try it. Even if you don't have a lot of space, okay? So nice and easy. Count the steps first. So go to the wall, count the steps, and then come back. And then close your eyes and simply walk to that wall. Yeah, doesn't have to be a far distance. And then keep that same number and walk or run. Please make sure you've measured properly. Okay, good. Come back. Good. Now, Jackie's going to do the same thing but backwards. So she's looking forward. She's looking forward, and she knows it was 5 steps. Okay, so she's going to just walk backwards calmly for 4 steps. You got to be very sensitive to the change. And then she's going to walk forward again, and then she's going to do a fast walk backwards for 4 steps. Come back. Now she's going to run back for 4 steps. Ooh, look at her shoulders. Ooh, look at her shoulders up around her neck. Again, guys, we're trying to build up sensitivity to a change in an inner state, not in our head, of danger, of fear, and how our body reacts to it, right? Try it backwards now. Try it backwards. Really interesting backwards. We think it's easier not to see it, but it's a different type of tension comes to the body when you go backwards. Yes, you can be less afraid. I'm just say that so everybody can hear it. Take a second. Okay, guys, come around. Come around. Okay. So I don't know. So I don't know if you can hear what Jackie said, but she said to me, actually, I'm less afraid doing this. He goes, I go, really? He goes, then she stopped. She paused. There's that moment of truth, and she said, because I'm not going to smash my face. So that says something different. So you hit with your back because the face is our identity, guys. That you understand that's our identity. Okay. So imagine me coming up to Jackie saying, "Hey, good job," and I hit her in the back, right? And then, "Hey, good job," and I hit her in the face. Like, no, but think of it. Face is your identity, guys. Face is your identity. Okay. Like it's so depending where. So now we're starting to say, oh, so fear. So that same wall, the only thing Jackie felt different going backwards than did forwards, right? So I said, a lot of you cross the street, right? You cross the street, take that. Have you ever tried it backwards? It won't be so comfortable. You won't feel so comfortable, okay? The other one I want you to try with the street is not all the time, not all the time, but because I got a big street out in front of me. If I look ahead and I see no cars here and I see no cars there, right? I try cross the street with my eyes closed. Okay, and I know there's no danger. There's no cars coming. I can see from far, but it's still not the same, right? How many of you have sat in the middle of a street? So you're not where the cars are. You're like right in the middle. So where the 2 cars go, stay there. Eyes are open, no problem. I'm safe here. You know, as long as there's no distracted drivers, you're pretty safe, right? Try close your eyes there. Don't move. Just stay there. And that changes it. There, you're going to see some fear. Again, fear doesn't have to be terror. It can also be just a low level fear. I'm not good with this. That's I'm okay. Like when I'm training, for those of you guys that train with me, especially in wrestling, I rarely go offensive. And that's not because I don't want to push myself, but I love going into my fear. So I let people get close around my neck. I bring myself close to the point of choking, and I like that low level fear, and I try to manage it. I try not to imagine dead things, right? I don't imagine dead or me passing out or this and that, but I bring myself close to fear, and I try to get comfortable, right? I just try to get comfortable. You're inducing a low level fear right now. And I just want you to find comfort there in a low level. And then later, you'll be more and more and more, right? How many, how many of you have friends that are paramedics? Have any of you have friends that are paramedics? I have a couple of guys. They're around fear all the time. They're trying to save a guy's life, or trying to save a person's life, whoever it is, and they show up and they're scared for the person. But what are they doing? Staying calm because they've exposed to a high level fear. I'm not saying you have to, but you can just expose yourself to low level fear. You can expose yourself to low level. You don't have to expose yourself just to high level stuff right away, right? So low level fear of like, I'm gonna hurt myself right now, right? I'm in the middle of the street. I know I'm safe, but I'm just closing my eyes. That's a little scary, right? Does that make sense, guys? Like find ways of inducing these little, just take an ordinary thing that you do and induce it. So here's a funny story. Sorry, Dick, but here's a funny story. So there was a point in Sistema, I was I was horrible. I couldn't move. I was like a block. And it took me about a year and I started moving and relaxing. And all of a sudden I loved it. I would do rolls. I played. I was so happy. It was like the most joyous thing I was like I was a kid in a candy store. And one day Vladimir came up to me. He says, "Yes, you look like you really love moving, and you're doing so good and so great." And up went my ego, and I felt so proud. I said, "Yeah, you noticed. My teacher noticed." And he goes, "Come with me. I have something special for you." So he brings me close to the stairs that were going downstairs, and he goes, "Sit down." It was very common for him to give me these odd things. So I sat down by the chair. He stood back and kicked me straight in the chest, sent me down 20 flights of stairs, no preparation whatsoever. And I went down the stairs like a thousand pieces. And I got to the bottom, and he goes, you still like moving now and falling? You still enjoy it?" No, he goes, "Don't like it too much. Don't enjoy it." He goes, "It's never gonna happen the way you want it to happen. That's how it happens." So when you guys like, there's gonna come a place where fear, you're gonna be like, "Oh, it's okay." You won't like it when it comes. You won't like it when it comes. Mark my word. So we're not trying to say I want to love fear and be like bungee jumping and skydiving. I don't want this. I want you guys to be able to live in this place, and when it happens, just be okay. Don't love it. Don't do that. It's like don't become a sadomasochist with fear and just look for this thrill seekers and stuff. Be those guys that are taking selfies on the Grand Canyon. I don't want those things. Okay. I want you guys to understand the effects of fear. So does that make sense? Don't like just because there is going to come a point where you're like, wow, I actually like being a little scared, or it works a little bit. It gives us a rush with it, right? You won't like it when it really happens. When real fear hits you, it's won't be something enjoyable at all. It'll be more scary than it is. So you just want to understand it, okay? Does that make
really telling about your body because my whole nervous system went off when I put the stick here.
Yeah.
And I didn't know I was missing.
Yeah. So what Jackie's saying, if you heard her, when she put the stick on her solar plexus, her whole body lit up. So she found something about because fear, guys. How many of you have friends that smoke or stop smoking? They will tell you they stopped smoking, and they say, "Oh, but actually, if you look close at their life, they picked up another bad habit. They just switched it. Like you stop smoking, they eat a lot, and then they gain weight. And then they like so people move their habits around. Fear is the same thing. They get rid of it here, they put it somewhere else. So for Jackie, she found it in her solar plexus, which is, you guys know that this is the weakness of the human body, right? It's not just for strikes, it's in general. This is known as the weakness for the human body. So it's big in martial arts, right? Forehead, nose, mouth, throat, solar plexus, groin. The middle line. It's all the weaknesses of the human body is here, right? It's straight down the middle. Okay. And that's why we always in martial arts they say don't stay like this. So it's kind of you protect the middle line, right, of the body. So solar plexus is definitely a weakness, not just for physical, but for spiritual as well as psychological weakness comes through here. Okay. So I won't explain it deeper. It's complicated, but understand you should protect this area, not just physically, right? That's why when you punch there, be careful, right? How you punch people in the solar plexus. It's not just that you can hurt them; it's a much deeper hurt can come to the person.
It
Make
makes sense itself. That shocker.
Yeah, yeah. For those of you that teach kids, for those who teach kids, when you're hitting them, if you hit them in the stomach here, you hurt them, you destroy much more than they. It's like their confidence. It's like everything gets destroyed, right? It's a big one. In boxing, when I was boxing, they said if you could knock a guy out in the stomach, like if you could knock him down in the stomach, you took the will out of them. They didn't want to continue fighting. Sometimes you knock a guy out in the face, he can come up and he still wants to fight. In the stomach, no man, those good body punchers, you just say that's it, no mas. Throw it all day. We're not I'm done. It just takes the will out of you. So the same goes for the stomach. Yeah, no, it's the same idea, right? So go to that area easily. Okay, and next emotion. Okay, next emotion, and it's hard to practice this, but again, real life. So we're not setting up practice sessions. So I'm hopeful. I hope it never happens, but we all know that people will eventually pass in our life. And the one of the hardest things emotionally is dealing with sadness, and especially when you go to a funeral. Um, I'm not telling you not to be sad. That's not what I'm saying. It's that you want to um, grieve the right way, I guess. And so when you're around great sadness, the natural emotion is to feel sorry for a person. Okay, to feel bad for them somehow, right? And this is no good. Um, don't feel bad for them. It's a part of life. People live and then they die. Okay. So how I balance things off is I think of like my priest, right? And on any given week, he does a baptism where somebody's got born and and then on the same next day or maybe even later that day, he has a funeral. He sees all of life in the same day, in the same week. He sees all of it. So, and I'm exposed to that too. Like I see the same thing. I have people say, "Oh, I'm having a baby," and another person, "Oh, my father passed away, and my mother passed away," and we have this cycle, and we have to understand that we have to always keep that in mind. That not to be too happy when good things happen, and not to be too sad when bad things happen emotionally. I mean, they touch us. They can touch you, of course. I see sad things. I can cry too, but um, it doesn't push me over. Okay, it doesn't push me over. How many of you have friends that drink too much and push themselves over into too happy? Right? It doesn't have to be a friend. It doesn't have to be a friend, right? Or they get too angry. What happens when you're too angry? Nothing wrong with being angry, but too angry is a problem. That's when you start breaking things and doing things you regret. But the same thing with sadness and joy. It's the same thing. Too much is bad of all those things, right? And you know how we know this for all of the guys in there? Think of high school. Think of when you started to get happy and then you got stupid, right? You started to get too happy and you do silly things, right? You do things that you know, I shouldn't have done that, right? So when faced with uh, great happiness, right? I try to enjoy the happiness and enjoy the moment, but not go too much. And then the same with sadness. I don't let it get too much. Does that make sense, guys? I don't want it to sound like I'm preaching, but this is your training. Is when you're faced with this stuff, right? Last year, I saw a daughter, 50-year-old daughter, walking her 75-year-old mother across the street at 10 a.m. in the morning in a small rural town. At a stop sign, person stopped, they crossed the road, and then for whatever reason hit the accelerator and ran over the mother. And I saw it. Yeah, I saw it, and it was horrible. And I rushed to the scene, and the first thing was, there's the daughter, 50 years old, exactly my age, crying, and she's like, "Oh my god!" And she couldn't do anything. Her mother was there. I was the first one on the scene, and I was so sad for her because I knew she hit hard. She was alive, but she hit hard. She was going to have a hard recovery in her age, and I was there. I was telling her everything was all right. At that exact moment, I didn't need to grieve and feel bad. I did later, but at that exact moment, I couldn't. You just couldn't do it at that moment, right? I just couldn't. A more personal story, well, that's pretty personal, but even more, when my father was passing, my mother was grieving, my sister was grieving hard. I knew I was going to grieve, but not then. I just didn't, I needed to be strong then. We couldn't all fall apart. But somebody had to keep it together for a bit, and then after it fell apart, that was fine. You do it, and sometimes you just have to delay that thing for a second, right? Because this is what soldiers go through, right? They see so many horrible things in a war, but they can't grieve at that moment. There's just too much going on, and then they get home, and then they finally can grieve, and that's what PTSD is. It's later. It's later, right? And it for those who don't know the condition, it can come up to years later. Years later. A friend of mine who's a firefighter out in Vancouver told me he responded to a fire call, and the a person he knew, and he had passed away, and he had seen him. And he goes, 6 months later, he imagined he had a dream that the person's daughter was dancing in his front yard. That's how it happens. Oh, it's nothing. It's very slow, and you got to be very aware of it, right? Those are the signs of like PTSD, right? So whenever I'm exposed to a great fear and great sadness, I accept it, but I try to keep it from going over. That's when it becomes dangerous. Okay, it's not that you're not grieving, it's not that you're not happy. I get totally mad, but I don't have to punch a hole in the wall, right? I don't have to yell at somebody that I care about just because I got mad. I can work on controlling my anger. I can work on controlling my sadness at that exact moment. Does that make sense, guys? That it hits you with the emotional stuff. So you cannot train for this. It's going to happen as it happens. It's going to happen as it happens, right? So in the systemic community, you all know we had an incident that happened where one of the instructors had well, basically committed suicide. You know that, right? It's not beat around the bush, right? Um, I knew that person very well. Jason was a dear friend of mine, and so did Vlad. We knew this guy, this great guy, for almost 20 years, and we never saw it coming. And that hit us. That hit his heart, right? That hit his heart. But for me, it's like, of course, I can grieve. But if I were Jason were here, he'd be like, "Don't do that." He said, "Don't do that." He says, "But remember me," and that's what I do. So you change it to something that is much more appropriate, and you just have to be able to do that, guys. I hope I don't make it too heavy the topic and too much sadness, but unfortunately, this comes around in our life, and nobody talks about it. Nobody has a class on it. It's just except for me. That's so morbid. It says a lot about me, I guess. Patrick, stop laughing at me. Okay, questions. Unmute yourself if you have a question, guys. If there's something specific, because I can keep going. Noah, you have a question? Say if you have something specific.
Yeah, it seems like the when you're breathing the physical pain away, it's easier. But for some reason, like you were just mentioning the emotional pain, I guess for me, it feels like it does spread to the body, all over the body. It doesn't. I don't catch it in time where it stays in one place to breathe it away. Any suggestions on that, or is it just continual training and getting less tense?
I'll give you an example of how you would use it. So if I was attending a funeral, let's say, right, and I would be grieving, I'd be sad, and I would be breathing to myself. But then I would get to the funeral, and then I would see the family of the person that's been lost. Now, why do you show up to a funeral, guys? Well, why does anybody go to a funeral? We go to the funeral to support the people that are alive right now. That they're grieving right now. The person that's gone is gone. But specifically, you're there to support the people. They need support. They're feeling it. So you give them strength, right? The saying in Greece is "sidereño," which means like steel, like be strong now, because it's a weak. You feel it. So you support the person by seeing everybody that came to see my father's funeral. It reminded me of what a good man he was. It didn't allow me just to think of what's lost, but it reminded of his entire life, seeing the different faces, and it gave me strength to keep going and to go through these dark times, right? For all of us, there's no good way about it. So when you talk about pain, no, there's two ways. It depends, right? When I first hurt my knee, I felt bad for myself. I felt, why is this bad luck happened to me? Why did nobody else hurt their knee? Only I hurt my knee on this game. It got personal, right? And I felt sorry for myself. But then later on, after I had my surgery, I needed to find my breathing to get strength, like to give me courage to go through the therapy, right? So the breathing, it'll change within the same moment, right? You help yourself or then you support yourself. You help yourself or you support yourself. It gives me courage or it removes fear, right? Sometimes breathing, I give myself courage. With good breathing, it starts. I can do this. I got this. I think I can. I think I can. I think I can. Like the little train that went up the hill, right? Other times it's like, get rid of those bad thoughts. Get rid of those bad thoughts. Get that out of my head. So I can use my breathing to remove thoughts. I can give courage or remove thoughts, right? So does that make sense? No, it's not
Yeah.
a one hit. And for everybody, it'll be different because it's very difficult to teach emotions as a ABC. Each one
Right.
of you, as I'm talking to you, has so many. I can see it now on the screen. You can just like emotions, right? There was a video that Michael Rabko had way back when, and it was Beyond the Physical, and you remember it. And there was a trailer where they asked him. He goes, "I loved watching units, soldiers coming back from combat." And just at that exact moment as they come back, every single one of their faces, he says, has no lie in it. No lie. You just went through the scariest thing. You just survived something absolutely. There is no lie in you. So if Emmanuel is deep inside me, like, think of it, like there's a Jackie that's deep inside that she really kind of saves for herself. And every once in a while, she'll show people a glimmer of it. But when she comes close to death or when she sees something like that, that person that's inside comes right out. It's right out here. It's right on the surface. There is no lie. She doesn't give a fuck what you think. She doesn't give a damn what your opinions are. She's it. I'm lucky to be. I'm right here. I'm right out here. So there's no lie in their face. If you ask something, they'll tell you right away. They say, I can't stand this. I can't stand that. It's like an old person. They know they don't have much life left. They tell you whatever the hell they think. They don't hide it. But when it comes out, right? So um, take those moments in your life when you see those traumas or when you see those things, like like don't go away. There's sometimes like people go away from them, right? I go towards them, right? I go towards them, right? It's so special, right? You really can see a lot about emotions. Like watch emotions, like don't let them scare you. Get curious about it. When you see the guy so angry, like just stay with it. So tell me about this anger. just ask them. Tell me about this. Um, Another story that I had. There was a very dangerous guy that used to uh, train with me at Fight Club. I'm not going to say his name. Super dangerous. Okay, like not regular dangerous, super dangerous. Nice guy, but super dangerous. So he went up to a seminar up at HQ with me one time.
Dangerous in that he was like he might take it out on you, or dangerous like in the world, or
dangerous like in the world. Dangerous in the world, like known by Interpol, served many years in jail, and like yes, like yeah, killed somebody with a fork, like that kind of dangerous. Okay, so the first thing when Michael saw him, he said, sat as close as he could to him, which I thought was interesting. He said, "Can you tell me about yourself?" That's all he said. Just tell me about yourself. A nice calm voice. And he's like, and this tough guy goes, "I've done a lot of bad things." he goes, "Like what?" And it was like, he was so interested in this person. I, I didn't have that. I was like, to be honest with you, I really understood how much of a master Michael was at that moment. He didn't judge anybody. He's very interested in how you got this way. He's not scared of fear. He's not scared of anger. He's not scared of violence. I just want to understand this because I've been around it. He wants to understand it. What brought you to that point, right? Look at how a clinical psychologist handles a mass murder. He doesn't. He wants to understand how did you get to this state because he doesn't want it to happen again. Does that make sense? So when I see somebody that it's emotionally, whether super angry, super sad, I need to understand how you got here. I need to understand what made this. This is very special for me, right? And the moment I did that, my systemic training went to a whole other level because I'm now curious, and curiosity is the most beautiful thing you can have. It's something we have as kids, right? I did, and even people that are dangerous look at you with they calm down. This is, you're willing to, how many of you see an angry dog? How many of you have enough courage to stand beside that angry dog and ask how it got angry or why it got vicious? See, it's deep, right? The dog was emotionally bothered. Somebody emotionally did this. This dog didn't work out this way. Somebody did it to them. And that's emotional. Do you have enough? Do you have enough emotions to stand by that dog that could bite you? That's fear. Have you looked at your fear? Have you done your training? And your training is not at your gym, it's in your life. This is where your training is for everybody, right? And I want you guys to be ready for it, okay? I hate to, there's some things that you can train ABC, not emotions. And if you could, it would be every sports athlete would be after you, because for every amazing athlete I've ever met, they did amazing things. They couldn't control their emotions, and that's why they didn't reach the top levels. And the same in martial arts. You can be good at all, but if you don't spend time on understanding your emotions in real life, you'll never be able to understand your true potential. You got to get a hold of your emotions. Grab your emotions by the shirt and say, no, you follow me. I'm going to get angry, but I'm in control. I'm going to get sad, but I'm in control. And that doesn't mean like a control freak. It's that you don't want to punch a hole in the wall. That's not, I'm okay to get mad. Yeah, Eric, go ahead.
So like with the sad, right? I struggle with sad, and I've got sad for from when I was a kid. That's like, I'm just starting to get in relationship to right now. And I've got blocks around crying, and I'm making progress. I've been working on it for a couple of years now. I'm making progress, right? But I have this thing of, I'm so oriented towards a kind of like this kind of suppressive, compressive control, that when I hear you say like, get it under control, like, I don't want it. Like, I want to fully give if I could spend the next week in my room bawling my eyes out, I would give everything that I have for that. Everything I have for that,
Do it, but there's moments where you just can't. I get it. Like, do it when you can, of course. Yeah, you want to cry. There's nothing wrong with it. I didn't say I didn't cry, guys. But it's like, I'm not scared. There are moments I'm scared, but I'm more scared for somebody else. Like, you see how it's all relation? Like, now it's like, of course I felt sad, like when my father passed, or I felt sad when I saw this old woman with her daughter. But at that moment, I needed to be better at that moment. And so when you're free, of course, cry, be angry. You want to hit a punching bag, no problem. But it is still, you're the lead. You're in lead of that. You're in control of that. Because that's the most important thing for me, is that if you can't cry, no problem. But if you have that luxury,
maybe part of being in control means actually being able to like control my ability to allow it to come out, not just controlling it to suppress it. Like, part of the control is to be able to say like, and it will come, I can bring this out now. And that's,
here's a funny story, not to get sidetracked, but it's a really true story. So again, big fat guy. He's up at a seminar in Europe somewhere. The guy's huge, 6'5", 300 some odd pounds. I'm there. Michael's doing a demonstration with me. He's talking to me, but this big guy really, really wanted to come up to talk to Michael. So he goes, no. He puts his hand on my lap. He goes, no, stay. This big guy comes up to Michael with the translator, and he explains something with what he had a question. Then Michael looked. He says, "What's your real question?" And the guy stopped for a second, and he said, "What's your real question?" He goes, "I'm fat." And right away, Michael was like, the first thing I saw was, people say the same thing about me. He's fat. He goes, but that's the joke in system. You tell him he's fat. I'm not telling him he's fat. He says, I'm also fat. He goes, I know how that feels. This is horrible. He goes, it makes me really, really sad a lot of the time. That's what he says with a translator. You believe it?
Wow.
He's able to say even the things that bother him. Is that how many world-class instructors do you know can tell you their fears openly? That that's how they feel. He openly said it, right? I was like, he just finished punching out a ton of people, throwing people around like it was nobody's business. He could just be a star. Everybody around him's bowing down to everything. He could be a star, but he just opened up and said, "No, I'm." People also call me fat. It hurts my feelings. It's very hurtful to me too. And then he sat down and proceeded to do something I couldn't believe. But the fat guy wrote a diet plan for the other fat guy. I'll never forget it. It was the funniest thing I've ever seen in my life. I still can't believe it because he himself was completely genuine about this. He wrote down a great plan. I watched it. I couldn't believe it. But there is some comedy to all of that, right? You know that, right? There is some comedy. Nothing wrong. It's just the level of his experience is off the charts and how he can cut to it. But when people talk about great masters, it's those guys usually can control their emotions, right? Any great athlete has great emotional control. They're physically, of course, maybe great, but emotional control is very good. And I think a lot of you guys don't allow yourself to become a master of emotions. Where's that video, right? Why not? And what is in martial arts? What does somebody say? You want to be good? You got to get beat up a lot, right? So okay, so you want to master your emotions? You got to get angry, sad a lot, and deal with it. That's the secret. Just do it. But we hide for emotions. I don't know. People run from them. Don't run from them. Enjoy them. Enjoy the thing. What's the big deal? We all have to get sad. We all have to get angry anyway. And whenever it happens, it's coming for you, and deal with it. That's all. And nobody said you have to be good at it, but just try. Just deal with it, right?
We're in a great space now where just because of the time, go have a conversation with someone who disagrees
Yeah.
and hold a normal conversation.
A normal conversation with somebody that you
Go
don't
out
like. Those are tough.
and
Those
find
are tough.
someone that you don't agree with on stuff and
Those
have
are
a chat about why you think.
Hug a Trump supporter. Come on. Hug a Trump supporter. Try to understand him.
Well, no, like I literally had someone, I was at a party and I literally disagreed with someone on something very calmly. And she went like this. I said, I can't even talk to you. And like laughed. And I was like, all I said was no.
Yeah.
I just
Emotions, right?
that was
Emotions, guys. Get interested. Get interested. Don't judge. Get interested. It'll do you so good. You'll understand why so few people can do it, because it's very difficult. But you can do it. You guys can do it. I know you can. Okay. I hope it helps, guys. We can go on and on and on, really. But please remember the key things here. Use your life and put it all into perspective. Get interested. Use your breathing. Stay close. Try to understand what's happening to you, okay? And ask me questions anytime. Next week, we got a lot planned, but a little bit more martial art flavor. Knife. So weapons, we're going to work with a lot of weapons, okay? So I'll send out an email just to all the stuff we're going to need next week. We're going to work with weapons next week. So next month, for the whole month, we're going to do weapons training, okay? So I will tell you what you guys need, all right? Have a good weekend, guys.
Thank you.
Don't get emotional. Don't get emotional.
Thank you.
Hey, Randy,
Everybody.
is
Yes.
the seminar tomorrow at 11?
11 till 1.
Perfect.
See you then.
See you then.
Bye, guys. Bye-bye. Bye.
You, bye.
Bye, guys.
Bye-bye.
Yeah.
Bye.
right?
Yeah.